Hello, hello, and welcome to the Introvert Social Hour. My name is Kayvana, and today I'm so excited because if you follow me on like social media, I've talked about this here and there about making sure you're taking care of your body. I super push like being an adult and still like I know work is a thing and things like that, but still just treating yourself properly. So then I don't know, I look at it as longevity. And so when I thought about this episode, I was like, I gotta bring Alyxx on. So first off, welcome Alyxx to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yes, I'm so excited to get into this. But just to give the audience some like background, Alyxx was my rehearsal director when working on Sacred Songs through Ailey Extension for the past, well, not including this year, but in 2023 and 2024. Or no, 2020, oh my God, 2024, 2025. My goodness, my
Hi.
the years, time, literally. So that's how we ended up meeting. And I've also been following Alyxx's journey on creating, my Body Unbound, the business, but also I've learned a lot from you as well. I literally didn't know what Fascial Counterstrain was, didn't know anything about it, things like that. So I'm just excited for the audience to, get your wisdom, and also get to know more about you. But that's like the breakdown for them understanding how we know each other. But I would love for you to introduce yourself and what led you to this work. And yeah.
Thank you. Oh, wow. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. I started dancing when I was 6 years old because my mom was in a West African dance and drum group called Jelly Kunda under the direction of Musa Diabate. And one day I saw people trying to do this step, and I was like, I want to try it. And that began my dancing journey. I studied at Dallas Black Dance Academy for a few years, and I did their second company for a year. And then my mom just reminded me of this the other day. I applied to one dance school and I said, if I get in, I'll go. And I'd
Oh
never
wow.
really heard of of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater or Fordham University, but I applied to their Ailey Fordham BFA program and I got in and I was like, I guess I'm going to New York. So thus began a very wide and winding journey in the body and through the body as a student in the BFA program. I graduated. Actually, tomorrow is my 12-year anniversary of college graduation, which I'm like, whoa.
The time flies.
Time. It is my 12-year anniversary, and yeah, I had a really wonderful time in the BFA program. And while I was there, I got to learn so much about my body. And one of my favorite spaces was the PT clinic. I really loved the people in there. I loved like the information. And so like you could sign up to do like a scheduled session or whatever. Like you can get your 20 minutes or however long, but then you could also just go in and kind of like hang out. So you could be on the
Mhm.
bike or on the Pilates reformer, like all these you could be rolling out so many things, but it was always the place where like everybody was who I was interested in like hearing from and hearing their stories and learning things like, and conversations that run the gamut of like how much water and how many times are you pooping a day or and then like to like, oh, these muscles need to activate when you're doing this. So it was just you never really knew what you were going to get, but you knew it's going to be very rich in being in the PT clinic. And that was just like a place that I really enjoyed being, even if I wasn't injured. But like the people there were always so welcoming and so insightful and just so smart. And then like you got to like watch them treat other people sometimes. You're kind of like trying to sneak and watch because you're trying to give them a little privacy, but also like, what are they talking about? Oh, I remember this feeling. Okay, that makes sense for my body. And I got really close with Dr. Shea, and she's who told me about the fascial counterstrain technique. And then I was moving all around, and I was in DC, working as a personal trainer, dance teacher, all these things. And one day I was having like a what do you call it? I'm not in school anymore. We were having like a playtime kind of a thing, like a there's a specific word I'm looking for, but I can't find it right now. But we was hanging out. I was playing some basketball. I was like double dutching, just all kind of stuff, like a field day kind of a thing. And
Awesome.
that day I tore my ACL, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is new. This is an unexpected, nice, acute injury. Like I wasn't even holding the ball when I when it
Oh,
tore.
yeah. So you're like, how did we get
Like,
here?
whoa, okay. But I took that
Yeah.
opportunity to then go to massage school, which would then make me eligible to learn fascial counterstrain. So I was working during the day, I would go to massage school at night, started to learn fascial counterstrain. And I was like, yeah, this is really cool. Before I'd even experienced it myself, I was just like, I want to be able to do what they were doing in the PT clinic. I want to be able to help people in this way, both like unintentionally and with a deep intention. And that was just something that I like kind of held on to, in addition to some of the other amazing people that I met through the school. But it was just like, this environment is something that I would like to continue to exist in. And if I have to make it, I'll make it. So I made it, and I called it
You're,
Body Unbound.
yeah.
So that is like my little winding journey a little bit to get to what I'm doing today.
Wow. No, I feel like that's also really cool because I was literally about to say, you said, and then, if I make it, I make it. Literally, yeah, you made it. Like you did it. And I am curious to know what, where was that path to, okay, I really enjoy this work, but hold on, I'm going to be the owner of my work. Like I want to create a business that is mine. I want to have ownership and be able to create my own community and bring people into it. I'm curious of how that happened.
I think that was growing out of my desire to share more. So I was training, I was massaging, I started to massage. And with my training clients, I was noticing, I was like, they can't quite get their arms like overhead. Like, that's not necessarily like a workout thing. That's going to be something that's a little more fascia related. And I was like, okay, well, they probably need
Mm,
massages. And like, and it's like, well, the massages help, but it's only temporary. And so what's really going on? So I was noticing some gaps in the training, some gaps in treatment, and I was like, okay, I want to be able to fill these gaps in. And then some of the places that I was working, I would be more of like a supplemental um, feature or component of their recovery plan. And so the PT's like, okay, go get this massage. Tell her to massage A, B, and C. And I'm like, cool, A, B, and C. But I'm like, but I also noticed like D and E are kind of doing their own thing and contributing to this as well. Like, what are y'all doing for that? Like, oh, it doesn't bother me. And it's just like, does it or does like I don't know.
yeah.
And so I didn't feel like I really had like the time that I wanted to like
Mhm.
spend with my clients and like educate them and really kind of like parse through and see like what's really going on in the body. And I also, as I started to learn more through Counterstrain, I was just kind of like, I don't know that this is necessarily like the most effective, like that some of the things that I'm like witnessing and even some of the things that I was offering were necessarily the most effective. Like, you know, um, massage therapy isn't necessarily something that's like designed for pain management. Like is it can feel good
Mhm.
in the moment, but if you have chronic pain, like massage is going to be ointment on top of like a gaping wound. And it's like, well, we have some other things that need to be addressed as well, and that's what fascial counterstrain is able to do. So it's like, okay, there's a lot more that I don't know, but also that like my clients don't know. And then like I always applaud people for their efforts in like taking care of their body and doing things that they're supposed to
Mhm.
do. And then I'm like, oh no, but like there's this one thing that's kind of making it mismatched where your effort isn't necessarily yielding what it could because you don't have the right information or the right resources. There was a point where I was like, okay, I'm transitioning from working or I'm transitioning from commuting hour plus to go to work each week or each day. And I was like, okay, well, let me find some work that's closer to home. So I found a job that I was interested in, really nice space and everything. And I got through one round of interviews. And then with massage, you tend to have to do like a practicum as well. So I was on my way to do a practicum there. And I parked in front of this building that had a for lease sign on it. And I was like, I wonder what that's about. I'll just take a quick little picture and I'll go do my practicum and everything. And, it went well. I actually got that job. And then I was like, let me reach out to these people who have this little for lease thing. I want to see what they're talking about. So then I'm touring some other spaces, and then they show me where I actually saw the sign, and I was like, oh, this is really beautiful. Like, I like this a lot. Like, it has street access, and there's like a small room in the back for that could be treatment. There's the nice bathroom, 11-foot ceilings. Like, interesting. So I decided, instead of taking the job that I just gotten from parking in front of this building, that I would turn this into my work. So that was kind of like this very like serendipitous moment of finding BU, when it was just like, okay, I'm going to go and try to continue to support other people's visions. And I'm like, well, no, I actually have a very clear vision, and I would like to see it actually be born and to see what it can do in the world. And it's still very much a baby. The only thing it can hold is neck, really, but but we are having a good time. I'm meeting some really wonderful people. My favorite thing, I tell people, like, I'm an evangelist for Counterstrain, because it really is something that like so many people can benefit from, especially the people who are like, yeah, I just can't seem to get this thing to go away. And it's just like, but have you tried? And so I really love like just sharing with people something that can really help them, especially when they've already invested so much time and money into trying to help themselves, but not really being as successful as they could.
Yeah.
So that's always a fun little story where I was just like, oh, I guess the universe was showing me like, hey, here's your next job. Like, it's nice over there, but you can make this nice too.
Yeah, it was like, just happened to park and be like, hey, this is,
Literally
are you
right in
looking?
front.
This is what you should be looking at. Like,
Yeah.
take that photo, come back to this later. So no,
Uh-huh.
I love moments like that. So I'm glad you brought that up too. For the people listening, I'm curious because we've been talking about it, fascial counterstrain and how it is helpful and important for people. For people who may not know, can you, even if it's just like a quick snippet of like, hey, this is what it is. I know, like, yeah, if you were to give like a one sentence breakdown or something, and then also emphasize on who it, like, how it helps, who it helps, and how it helps, because some people might be like, oh, that's not really me. I don't think that's for me, but I feel like it would be, and so I know you would be able to convince them.
So Counterstrain is a gentle, non-invasive manual therapy designed to relieve interstitial inflammation. That's kind of like the nutshell. What that looks like in practice is most every issue in the body can be tied back to the spine. So we're treating out spinal segments, and there are different systems of the body that could be impacting each spinal segment. So you have like lymphatic, arterial, adipose, which is like the fat in your body. You also have bone and cartilage. Like any of these could be creating the shoulder pain that you have, or the tension in your back, or the headache that you get from time to time when it rains outside, or you're like, oh, my knees are cracking, or oh, I can't really touch my toes until halfway through the day. Like all of those types of things can be tied back to some level of the spine with a certain dysfunction that can be traced back to your scalp, because the scalp is a map of the body. So it lets us know like which system is actually having dysfunction. So then we can kind of go and be like a sniper to be like, oh, the cartilage in this shoulder is dysfunctional in this direction. We're going to treat it out. And then that shoulder pain where you're like, oh, I can't really lift my arm if I go like this, but I could do it like that. It's like, well, this is why, and we go ahead and eradicate that. Counterstrain has been developed from the strain counterstrain lineage. So one of the one of the students of Dr. Jones, Brian Tuckey, had some questions. He got into his mad scientist, mad genius bag. And he discovered that there was a lot more to what they were doing with strain counterstrain, and developed a fascial counterstrain. His practice is based in Frederick, Maryland, which I'm fortunate enough to be like driving distance from. So I feel like I'm like close to the well in terms of information and being able to continue my study. And right now, Brian treats a lot of like chronic pain people who have very complex cases. So those kind of like those cases where you're like, I don't know, I've had this surgery, that surgery, this thing twitches, this thing glitches, this thing almost fell off. Like those are the people who go to see Brian. If it's not that extreme, you can still be helped, where it's just like, oh, I have this migraine that comes every Tuesday, not really sure why. And if it's possible to find out like, oh, well, actually it could be like something in your medulla that's a little bit inflamed, that is not really all that happy, that can be drained out. And then you also can be treated if you have like, you know, orthopedic things where you're like, oh, my back hurts, or I broke a bone, or I had a surgery. Counterstrain is really helpful pre and post operatic, or post operational, because it's helpful to clear the cytokines that can build up in the body. Cytokines are like the little helpers that come in to say like, oh, this area needs some extra love, and we're going to create a little inflammation so that we can do our work. We get some new blood in here, but sometimes they get stuck. So that's where you're like, yeah, I had this surgery 12 years ago, but I still feel blah, 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 blah. Or I fell 9 years ago and I still feel this. Like those types of things are because the cytokines got stuck. So then Counterstrain is able to say like, hey guys, we don't need you anymore. You're actually holding us up a little bit. We're going to get you on out of here. So if you were to do that like before surgery, because, you know, we're people and we have histories of our body, whether you tripped or you stubbed your toe or you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, like those types of things can get stuck in the body, and Counterstrain can help get those out. And then you go to surgery that's considered a cytokine storm, and you're like, oh, we're going to add more. And then afterwards, you would want to get Counterstrain to clear out what just happened to the body, because it was technically a trauma. And so pre and post-op Counterstrain is super effective in speeding up recovery and getting you to like a fuller recovery, whether that is from a surgery or from a bone break or a tear or something of the orthopedic type. And then if there are more systemic things that you are dealing with, one of my favorite cases, or I have a few favorite cases that they share about, but Counterstrain has been proven to help with fertility in terms of actually like prepping the body that may have been having a harder time to actually conceive and carry a baby, to getting it to a point where it's like, oh no, I know how to do this. I don't have to, like, I don't want to say wasting, but I'm not spending my energy trying to like remedy this other thing that's going on in the background, to the point where I can actually create a new life. So it's been helpful with fertility. One of my favorite cases was that it has shrunk fibroids like in half within a couple of months. So everyone's, it was just like, whoa. And even the woman's primary care physician was like, how did you do that? And it really is just about understanding like what's the root dysfunction, and like, okay, let's go clean that up so the body can actually do what it knows how to do. If it's distracted by all of these other things, like it's like trying to constantly clean up, but you're making it dirty, or that it just can't get clean, then you have a harder time just kind of having like easy living. So all of that to say, that's what that's like a little bit of what Counterstrain can do. But honestly, if there's like an issue in the body, I would want to address it with Counterstrain first to see what it is, before I go like poking and prodding and slicing open things and moving pieces around to try to find the solution.
Yeah. Wow. First off, I just want to say I just learned so much. I thought I had like I had a general understanding, but that just gave us such like a wider range, because I was going to go into my next thing of like, you know, it's it's for so many different people that I'm learning, like breaking down those cases that you just explained, I would have never guessed. So I know like people listening are probably like, I wonder, like maybe this is like a step that I can take and try, for people who, like you said, have probably had certain pain that they've been just dealing with for a good chunk of time. I know people who experience that right now, who are just like, oh, it's just part of we haven't figured it out yet. I go to doctors and stuff, but that's really cool. I hope I like that you're doing some really cool stuff. so, so no, that's really awesome. But yeah, that's what I was gonna go into actually. Because some people would think, oh well, it's just something that's part of, not necessarily who I am, but it is what it is, kind of, for lack of a better term.
I do think it's very easy for us to normalize pain and discomfort, especially when we don't have a solution. And so, again, that's something I feel very passionate about, where it's just like, no, you don't actually have to be in pain. Like, you don't have to be like out here with no taste buds or can't hear after this like event. Like, there are certain things that can be tried before you kind of just resolve to the dysfunction. Yeah, even the people who are having like the long COVID and post-COVID symptoms where they're like, I still don't have my taste buds back. That was a cytokine storm that your body was like, I can't get rid of the rest of this stuff. Like, that's when you need like a little bit more external intervention with a technique like fascial counterstrain, because there is something that is like inflamed, and then it's shutting off like your body's ability to communicate. And you can go poking around and everything, or you can go scanning and be like, it's this thing. That's why you haven't been able to do blah, 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 blah. And then you'll be very surprised at like how quickly you regain some of the functions that you thought you just lost.
Yeah. Wow. So there's an audience out there. Now you have some more information, especially if you're in Baltimore. Go ahead and search it up now. Body Unbound. The information will be in the description also, but we're going to continue on. Wow. I love learning new stuff like that, especially as someone who I study cognitive and behavioral neuroscience. So just understanding how like that ties into things.
There's a journal that's published about counterstrain and its impact on PTSD in military medicine. So if you are of the nerd variety to read articles in published journals and such, definitely go check it out. There's also another one that was recently published about bedwetting and the impact that counterstrain can have on that. So, everyone's like, oh yeah, you just got to wake up in the middle of the night. It's like, well, sometimes, yeah, that's necessary. But other times it's like, it's not your fault. Like, there's other things that are impacting your body's ability to like do the steps that it needs to create the outcome that you desire. And we're just trying to clean it up, because the body is so smart. We just have to get out of its way so it can do what it knows how to do.
Yeah, it does a lot. So sometimes
it does so much.
Yeah, and like, what's going on?
we just have to help it out a little bit from time to time, because we put too many cues in it, and it's like, okay, hold on, girl.
Slow down. No, seriously. I did want to get into that then, because like we have like the dancer approach as well, but then we also have the idea of like, just being, I say it like, for lack of a better word, like a everyday human. Maybe you're not normally, dancing, putting a lot on your body like that, but maybe you're sitting at a desk, 9 to 5, and what that could also do to your body. So I am curious of like, you talked a bit about specific scenarios, but I'm curious if there's anyone who comes to you and they're just like, I'm noticing certain tensions, and that, once again, going to studies, not to be too nerdy, but how stressors could also lead to, your body doing things it's never done before. But I'm curious of how someone who is, working that, 9 to 5 life, and who is noticing certain changes, whether it is, fascial counterstrain, or you also do, like you said, you do general, therapeutic massage therapy as well as I know you do like PT. How can someone from dance world, but also a 9 to 5 world, be able to, take care of the body in a general way as well?
I mean, the phrase movement is medicine is real.
Yes.
It is real. Like, whether we are moving like with activity, or you're moving the lymphatic fluids through your body. Like there has to be movement. And when we become stationary and static, things start to pull, things start to decide, oh, well, if you're going to be seated, and the psoas only needs to be this long because it's never in an extended state. So we're just going to make home here. And it's like, well, that's not going to be helpful when you decide, oh, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to go run a 5K. And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, actually,
You gotta
I
slow
don't know
your
if that's
roll.
the best idea, because you weren't really primed for that. You were primed for injury, but you weren't primed for the success of the 5K because you were in a static state. And so I think regardless if you're using your body like in a performative way, like for the stage or in training, you have to be taking care of it. Like it is a very objective part of our life where like what you put in is what you get out. And so if you're putting in a lot of like stagnation, you're not going to have like a lot of like feel good output. It's going to feel slow and sluggish, lethargic, like all those kinds of things. Your mood will be impacted. You'll be like, oh, I feel older faster, like all those types of things. And then on the other end of that, if you are a person who is engaging their body, or even if you live in a city like New York where you're walking everywhere, you have to also then like balance that out. So if you're not stretching, or like even as simple as like wearing the proper shoes, you're going to start to feel the impact of not really caring for your body.
Continuing that on, but into kind of like the recovery of it all. I think and you kind of mentioned it, which I think that's why it was a good kind of flow in, how people go into, they get used to pain, so they either ignore it, or it becomes something that they're aware of, but they, it's like, it is what it is kind of thing. But I'm curious of situations you've seen, or just to emphasize why you shouldn't do it, of what actually can happen when we ignore our bodies long term.
No pain, no gain is not real. And I also think that pain is weakness leaving the body is also not real. I think pain has to be something that you understand for yourself. And I also think that we have to like be willing to get to a no pain zone in our body, where I know that a lot of us are like, oh yeah, it hurts a little bit, I'm gonna keep going. But what actually happens when we do that, like every time you experience pain in your body, like that's a little bit of inflammation deposit into your body. Every time. Because your body's like, oh, well, we have to protect her. We have to protect him. We have to protect their body. Like, we have to do this thing that we're on autopilot to do. And we're going to keep doing it because we're getting an input that says we need protecting. We need like some cushioning of some sort. And so then what happens is that you go weeks, you go months, you go years doing that. And then one day you say, like, let's say you've been depositing into your low back for however long, and you're like, oh yeah, it's fine, today's a good day, I'm going, I got my little iced coffee, we'll talk about that in a second, we got my little iced coffee, and you step off a curb and you're like, I can't move. And it's like, well, why can't I move? Well, you just herniated your disc. And you're like, but I'm fine, today's a good day. You haven't been fine for years. You've been depositing inflammation into your low back for years. And then it seems so simple, but like this one little step was just enough to stress for it to then become like overflowing. So the the analogy that I've been using lately is like, oh, it's like putting baking soda into vinegar. Like you've been adding all this vinegar in, and then you have one little event, and you're like, whew, and it starts to fizzle over, and now you're symptomatic, or now you're injured, and you have all these things. So pain is trying to communicate to you that something's not right. It's not something that's to be like you're not to override it. You're not to like ignore it. It's almost like if I was telling a client this week, actually, it's like if your kid has to go to the restroom and they're like, hey, I gotta go. And you're like, nah. And then now you're dealing with an accident because you kept ignoring that signal that was saying, something's urgent, like, or it's building an urgency. And, sometimes maybe if the bladder's a little larger, or maybe if like they get distracted enough, you can go on, but you hit a point where you're just like, I'm at capacity. And the body does have capacity. Like, it does have a capacity. It does have a limit. And it tries to tell you before it grabs you by the ankles and yanks you back. But if you don't listen to that, then you're going to have like a rougher go at your listening to the body.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the whole when people are pushing through pain, they're like, that's the good part, it's a good part. Especially I think, as dancers, that's something that, is I would like to think it's less of a thing now, still a thing very much, but not as pushed upon us. And but it's super important. It's like, please, like, no, listen to your body and hear it out. And I'm glad that you also stressed the more internal thing that's happening. It's like, it's not just, oh, the pain is just still there. It's now there's something happening where it's developing. You might not know it's getting worse, but that problem eventually becomes bigger. And I like that analogy too. That's it. Yeah, no, that's and also too, I'm glad you noted the difference between like pain and
Discomfort,
like, like
even.
soreness, or like in working out, and
Like, I hate
yeah,
my burn,
discomfort.
but I know that
Yeah,
I'm not
that
in
was something I
pain.
noticed.
And it's just like, I don't like it. But I want to be stronger. So, you get through it. But if my if my joints were like, oh, every time, then like that's a different experience than like the muscle actually adapting to change and building up with lactic acid and like doing its process. But when you start talking about bones and joints and like, oh, it's sore all the time, or I can't sleep because it's aching, it's throbbing, oh, my fingertips are going numb, all that kind of stuff, like, oh, okay, there are larger things at play that need to be addressed, because that is going to just keep growing and growing and growing. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go and try this thing that's not going to be successful because in the background, I've been loading this program for a long time. So,
A lot of unlearning for you, but also for the body. Yeah. Okay. Wow. I also want to know too, what I've discovered sometimes, people who are not used to like, just general movement, which once again I press to like, give that movement to your body just like you do. I've also discovered like sometimes people may not even know the difference of what that feeling is like, and that's always intriguing to me too. It's like, that's part of taking care of your body, is also understanding those feelings. So I'm glad you noted that. Yeah. Moving into, the kind of like general physical practices of what like taking care of your body could look like. For me, I haven't gotten into like the general like massage therapy of it all just yet. Sometimes I kind of hop in and out, but talking with you, I'm kind of reflecting. I'm like, okay, this should be more of like a thing. For me, in regards to certain things, I know that are kind of like, little tweaks that I notice or things like that. But for me, I'm always like, I can feel when my body's like, it's hit a limit where we're like, okay, hey, we walk a lot in the city, like you said, let's stretch our body. Yeah, let's do that. Let's take care of it a little bit. What kind of practices would you suggest on top of what we've already talked about? Where you're just like, even if it's a slow start of maybe you don't walk a lot,
literally,
maybe just start walking a little bit more, or some arm rolls, whatever it is.
I
I'd love to
think
hear your thoughts
little
on that.
by little is what is best for the body. I think if you jump from like the couch to marathon kind of a programming, then you are in for some very rude awakenings, or maybe some deep sleepinings. Like, oh, we're just gonna power down, actually. But
Yeah.
I think starting off with like the things that you already do.
Yeah.
Okay, you already stand up and sit down. Like, okay, what if when you're getting up from your desk, you do 5 instead of just the 1 to go do the thing? If you are not really walking, okay, well, let's take the long scenic route to get to my desk, or to get home, or even around the car after I've parked it. I think just kind of like looking at what your life looks like in terms of movement, and then creating some repetition around that. When you are in the shower, like, are you bending over? Like, okay, well, can I bend over like outside the shower and make that part of my movement practice, so that the first time I do it is not when I'm in a slippery environment and it's a little more dangerous. Like, can this kind of be something that is more natural in my body, and I'm a little more like, I've got a little more control of how my body's going to react to this movement. I think the other thing that is widely underused are personal trainers. I think that if you are a person who's not very like embodied starting out, there's nothing wrong with a personal trainer. You can say, and even if you were once very athletic and you were like, oh, in high school I did this, in elementary, middle, even in college I did this, but it's been 5, 10, 15, 20 years between your last rigorous activity. I think there's nothing wrong with having an outside eye to say like, hey, this is what this looks like. And then I also understand that like budget is a thing. So in order to make it not accessible, like you could also have a conversation with the person who could be your trainer and say like, hey, I may not be able to do this twice a week every week, but what I can do is pay for a program and I could do like a virtual thing so you can see my body to say like, hey, am I doing this correctly? So that you at least know the cues that you're looking for. You know what sensations you're looking for in your body when you go to do the movements. So you're just a little less prone to injury. We're people. We got into this work because we want to help you. So we're going to figure out a way to help you. If you can't afford 2 or 3 sessions a week, like, well, let me spend some time with you to coach you on some general movements. We'll check back in a month to see how you're doing. That is also an option. But I think it is helpful. Like if you're not going to be using a mirror and you don't understand body mechanics, you absolutely need a professional to say like, hey, this is what's going to keep you safe. This is how you have longevity in your body. It's not worth the ego and the repercussions of the ego and being like, I know how to do this. And you're just like, well, actually, yeah, you can squat low, but like now your knees hurt because you're not activating or in the way that is actually helpful. I think, some low impact aerobic things are helpful to start. Some gentle stretching is helpful to start. You don't have to train for your splits, but I think the other thing that's underestimated with stretching is that it does help with the lymphatic pump to be kind of activated and stay doing what it's supposed to do. Again, that movement is medicine. Like the stretching is actually helping to clear out some edemas and some things that may get stuck in the body. And again, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to stay in the stretch for 20 minutes. Like, no, actually, you just need to do a few pulses of it, of like 5 to 10 times, and just to make sure you kind of feel that opening and then you move on. Like, it doesn't have to be hours long process in order to take care of your body. And if you are going to be a group fitness kind of a person, you have to be very present in your body because it's just a lot of stimulus and a lot of input. The instructor is spread thin in terms of what they're looking for. So they may not be able to catch that like micro shift of your pelvis that's causing your low back pain to kind of stay there and be able to cue you out of it because they're trying to cue you to the next thing. Not their fault, not your fault, but I think you really have to be hyper present if you're going to participate in that environment.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense because I've definitely just a general like I've tried different like workout styles and I'm like, hold on, I gotta be locked in. Hold on, this is new to me. I'm falling behind, like, but the goal is just understand it first. So it's like you have to
the other thing
be
is like
mentally prepared.
it can be such a high
for all
pressure environment
aspects.
where you're doing 30 reps and it's just like I only want to do 12 today actually because I ran 5 miles this week. I don't really have 30 reps in me this like I don't. So like understanding how much to push your body as well and not being pressured by what all your peers are doing or what the next bandwagon is that's coming across. Like that's really important as well.
For sure. Yeah, I also like just also because I know there's also sometimes people have internal pressures where they're like, oh, I haven't done this in a long time, and I need to. My body isn't where I want it to be. I can't do this anymore. I can't touch my toes. Things like that. It's like give your body time to get there. Yeah, but before like avoid injury at all costs. Like eventually you will get to the place that you feel comfortable. I think about that like specifically even for like dancers, like you mentioned, like, oh, I gotta get to the split, I gotta hit the split. It's like things happen, everybody's bodies are different, so it's like you have to give yourself grace and time and care. I think is the biggest one there. Yeah. Yeah, you kind of went into it, but this was the last thing we were talking about. The everyday changes that we kind of need, person to person, case by case, of course. But you mentioned kind of like, okay, maybe you're walking around the office a little bit more, or maybe you're doing maybe if it's like 2 minutes of stretching a day, and then getting into it. I am curious though, to kind of wrap up, if someone only changes one thing after listening to this, what should it be? What is their kind of like stepping stone? What is like the first thing you would give them? I know it's very general because it's case by case, but I'm curious if you have anything. You kind of dropped
One
some
thing,
facts already.
the body is so multiplicitous in its like needs. Earlier today, when I was like doing my little practice of like, what am I gonna talk about? Oh my God, I was like, oh, the body like it has love languages, and so I thought about like, what are the love languages that I would assign to the body? And so if I could pick one of each of those things, then maybe that helps.
Wait, yes, this is even better, because I was about to ask you, wait, what
I
are these
think
love
number
languages? Can
one
you,
for
yeah,
me,
please.
and this may be personal because I'm an earth sign or whatever, but one is sleep. You have to sleep, preferably in 90-minute portioned increments. So 6 hours is better than 7 if you can't get 7.5, because the REM cycle is about 90 minutes. And then if you wake up in between, that's when you feel like you got hit by a Mack truck. So 6 hours, 7.5, 9. Ooh, bonus points for 9. I think that's a big one. And then also you need hydration. Like you have to be drinking water. Tea is not water. Coffee is not water.
Yes.
Juice is not water. Alcohol is not water.
Just
those
water.
things are not hydrating, is why. Like they actually put you like in a bit of a deficit. So you kind of then owe some water with those. And then you also need nourishment, like your food. You need nutrients. And I think nutrition is one of those things where like, oh, it's different for everybody. But at the end of the day, you have to eat. You have to eat real food. Especially if you're an active person, you can't just kind of be out here being a sugar burner where you just kind of go from carbs, like sweets and carbs as your fuel. Like you're going to burn out, you're going to get injured, you're going to be inflamed even more, on top of like your body thinking it's starving. And then you have to be active. Active looks different for everybody. Activities where you maybe get a little sweat on you are great. Some activity that makes you sweat a little bit to challenge the muscles, maybe, because that's important, especially to combat like osteoporosis or like things that happen when we get older, just to keep our bones strong. But then also to kind of detox the body a little bit. Like we don't want to just be putting a bunch of stuff in and nothing ever really comes out. And then also the last one is recovery. You have to recover your body. I think also with recovery, like there is the recovering of the body where like I'm going to stretch, I'm going to like decompress, I do my breath work, massage, maybe some counterstrain, that kind of thing. But I also think it's important to like do other things, like interact with friends and like do some hobbies that are non-monetized, maybe.
That doesn't cause stress. Yes.
Just kind of allow the brain to do other things, because that is also like restorative in a way. So those are like my one of each love language, where you have to sleep, you need some water, you need some nutrition, you need activity, and you need recovery / restoration.
Oh, okay. That's even better than just the one. So now audiences out there, y'all have a full breakdown.
For everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. And you know what you need. Like you said, how much sleep, what kind of food, et cetera, what your activity looks like. So, but you have a general guideline that you could work with. So,
exactly.
Thank you so much, Alyxx. Oh, wait, go ahead. Sorry.
I want to say, and maybe all of that sewn together is like getting you closer to like less inflammation. So if I had to pick one thing, it's to be as anti-inflammatory as possible. Like keep it calm, keep it chill, and not the fake calm where you're like boiling on the inside, but
Yeah.
like actually calm, where there's not the pressure cooker valve won't hit the ceiling and things like that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm glad you know that, because some people are like, I'm calm, I'm chill.
it's
It's
like,
like,
no, you're actually about to burn the whole building down. We don't want
yeah. Yeah. No, that's
that.
good. No, I would love to continue this conversation at some point too, because I know a lot of people talk about like anti-inflammatory diet now. Like that's like a big thing I see, specifically on social media. People talk about that with like different nutrition books and things like that. But yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you so much, Alyxx. This was such a
Thank
fun
you so much,
conversation.
Savannah. I'm so glad we had a little resilience to us to get
Yeah,
through the
we sure did.
technological difficulties, but this was a lot of fun. I'm always down to yap, especially
Yes.
about the things that I love and with people who I think are awesome. So thank
Oh,
you for
thank
having
you.
me.
Yes, of course. I like bringing on awesome people. So much
Um,
appreciated.
Thank
To the audience
you.
out there, make sure you go check out all the information for Alyxx is going to be in the episode description. You can head to the website and everything like that. If you're in Baltimore and you're like, hey, this is me, this is what I need, go ahead. Make sure you put that appointment in. And then make sure you're following me at the Introvert Social Hour on social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, etc., YouTube as well. Make sure you're following this podcast. Get some sunshine, get some air. I will see you next week on the Introvert Social Hour. Have a good day. Bye.